Welcome to Kahoma Community College's podcast from the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. I'm your host, Dr. Ouida McAfee, and today we have with us Dr. Kimberly Withers. Welcome, Dr. Withers.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to have you as a guest. So please tell our audience a bit about you.
Currently I work for AT&T as an expert member of technical staff in cybersecurity. I also teach part-time at Texas A&M San Antonio and Kennesaw State out of Georgia. Yeah, so so I've been in cybersecurity for quite some time. Yeah, that's what I do now.
That sounds good. I think we're good. And we'll learn more about you as we go along because
Yeah.
there's so many fascinating things about you. Like, for example, where did you graduate from in your undergrad?
I graduated from an HBCU,
Mhm.
University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. I got my master's in ULR. Then I got a master's and a second master's. Sorry, I'm getting nervous. Uh, got a second master's, and then I got my PhD at uh, Nova Southeastern University in Florida.
Okay, and what's your PhD in, Dr. Withers?
It's in information systems and security, which is an emphasis in cybersecurity. Yes, and so since I've been working in cybersecurity for so long, um, my initial degree for my undergraduate was computer science, but there was no cybersecurity way back then, no cybersecurity. So I sort of morphed into it, working on networks and then network security. And then I was on a penetration testing team, Tiger team, and so forth for the military. So yeah, it has been like, a journey. So being in cybersecurity, it's always changing every day. Yeah, so we have to be on our toes every day.
I wanted the audience to know about your impressive background, which leads us to our topic for today, patents and trademarks. Especially, we're going to talk about it from the um, point of academia. So tell us about how the patents that you have.
I have one that has been awarded. The other is I'm waiting on the patent ID for it, the patent number. We're still waiting on that from the patent office, but I can talk to one of them.
Okay.
I can give like a roundabout thing about the other, or just, in general.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, my first initial patent was that it's a Bluetooth patent. It's for connected cars. What happens is when you get into a car, so what the basis of the patent is that when you get into a car, you're always seeing that somebody else has their phone connected to the car, right? Their
Right.
phone is they've left it there, whether, you purchase a car, you go to, um, if you go to a rental car service, everybody always leaves their stuff in there in the car. And it's a security hazard, right? So anyone can download your contacts for smishing, vishing, things like that. And so if you don't know what smishing is like SMS phishing, like, if you ever heard of phishing, someone phishing you or sending you a link to click on, things like that. Well, smishing is somewhat sort of like that. You can send SMS messages with those types of links and things so like that. And then vishing when people are calling you voicemail, so voicemail phishing and things like that. Um, so I started thinking about it. It's like, hey, why hasn't someone thought of, deleting this information out of cars, right? So I started talking to my boss about it. And the thing with patents, you can't tell anyone about it. You can't tell anyone about your idea. The person that you want on the patent with you,
Mhm.
that's who you can tell, like that is going to be your co-author or whatever it may be, right? But you can't really talk about it because that is the first thing they ask you when you are when they're developing the patent for you. So then I said, how do I fix it? And so you have to, think of patents in the way that you do for research. What is the research question, or what is the objective? What are you trying to solve and how do you solve it, right? So that's the thing you have to think about. So then I said, okay, how do I solve this issue? And then I started thinking about, and a lot of people don't know about networking and things like that, but DHCP, the Dynamic Host Control Protocol. Well, DHCP, when you get on a network at your school,
Mhm.
it's a leased time. You have leased time, right, on using that IP. So when you get on a network, it gives you an IP. So it's called DHCP, right? So you're in a pool of addresses, it gives you that address, and you only have that address for a limited time. So I
Okay.
started about it in that way to fix the problem. Uh, so I was like, okay, we can have lease time for getting in these vehicles. And when you get into like a rental car, instead of it popping up and asking you how you want to connect, you want to connect for a limited time. So if you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 days, whatever, however many days you want to be connected to that car, it'll give you that time. And then after that time is up, and if you're rushing to the airport, right,
Mhm.
uh, and you forget to delete your information from the car, it'll automatically delete your information from the car. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that patent, and thank you so much for doing that, helping
Okay.
keep helping to keep our information secure.
That's right. Yeah, thank you.
So tell us some more about patents, is because I happen to know that you are a passionate professor. So you know about academics. Not only have you, attained all of the degrees, you also give back through teaching. So tell me, why do you think it's important in academia to patent or trademark your research?
Yeah, so yeah, it is important. And and what people don't realize, and anytime you create, you have a dissertation, that's a patent in itself because that is your work. It goes into the Library of Congress, right? And no one can plagiarize your work, right? Same thing, and you know, just a product patent or a process patent or whatever it may be, right? So it's important to patent your work, whatever you're doing. Um, and so for my job, the thing is with the patents that I develop, or if I'm going to write a patent, and I have these ideas and then I have to put it on paper. But the thing is, it has to be unique, right? They're looking for things to be unique.
Mhm.
And the way I think about patents when I do develop patents is that, is it only for in-house at my company, or can somebody else get it? So it's like the first patent, like the Bluetooth patent that I just told you about, Kia Hyundai bought my patent from AT&T, right? So they purchased, I don't get any money for it, so don't think I get
Okay.
don't think I got any money, but they purchased the patent. So the next patent that I just, I had, granted, like I said, I'm still waiting on the patent number. That patent was, it can be used in-house or by any other, vendor out there, right? So you want to think of it in the sense that who can use this patent? So that's what you want to think about when you're patenting anything. Yeah.
I don't want to overlook the fact that you are in a male-dominated field. And so to have these patents, what does that mean to you personally?
It's great, huh. I've always been in this male-dominated field. It's been hard at times, for a female, right? Um, it's been really hard. But you're gonna always get like, that some type of pushback or some type of envy somewhat, right? So a lot of things I keep to myself, right? I don't even when I was working on my PhD, no one in my on my team knew it.
Uh-huh.
Only my boss knew it, and he was the one that let the cat out the bag, right? So, I try to keep things to myself. And you're gonna always have, somewhat of that envy, the envy from other people. And so yeah, but as far as males go, you have to deal with the egos all the time. I have to deal with male egos daily, right? And it's very hard, but the things that I see them, how they respond to a male versus a female is just unreal, right? And I say the same thing with students, right? I
Mhm.
have students, male students that will, like today, like a student wants to call me Kim instead of, my professional title. And then when you correct them, and I'll say respectfully, please call me by my professional title, right? Um, and but you still get those that like, that will push back, like, oh, I don't have to call you your professional title. But if it's another professor, a male professor, what do you call him? Do you call him by his first name or do you call him by doctor, whatever? And that's what they do. They call the males by their professional, but they want to call me by my first name. So it flows into both directions, whether it's, in the corporate world or in academia.
So what continues to motivate you?
To motivate me, I would say, well, being in cybersecurity, um, like I said, it's so much changing and it's always learning something new all the time. Um, and then on the side of academia, how I can teach students about that, teach them what I know, hands-on, what I know, how to do this, how to do that, that will help them in the future of, getting a job, possibly getting a job, knowing these things will help you, right?
Mhm.
And what I see, as far as interviews go, how, what questions are asked during your interview, things like that. So I would say, just my field of study, or my field of work really is, what motivates me, yeah.
Okay. So, what is something that you would tell a student? Because you mentioned that you graduated from the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, our home state of Arkansas. So, what would you tell your younger self or a student who is in college at an HBCU and they see you and they're like, wow, patents? I didn't
Yeah.
ever think I could do a patent. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say, you could do anything, right? You could do anything that you want, you put your mind to. And patents come about just with just a thought, right? Just, a plain thought process, right? You see something that needs to be fixed, and how do you fix it? But you still have to do your research. Like I had to do my research for the patents that I have to see if anybody else, no one else has done this, right? So you want to do your research and, um, get that done. And then, if you don't have any, like a company like mine, like AT&T, even though I'm creating the patent with them,
Mhm.
they own patent because they're paying for everything. They're paying for the patent lawyer, they're paying for all these upfront costs and stuff like that. So they own that patent, right?
Mhm.
Uh, but for students that say that, students that are like at an HBC that if they come up with some sort of idea, see where they can go with that, right? It might cost a bit, right, to pay a patent lawyer, or because I think they normally cost like $50,000. You can get them cheaper probably, but to develop that patent, to write it all up, yeah. So I would say, you know, the sky's the limit.
Okay. So that's what you would say to students. And so what about your fellow, what about your peers, other academicians?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So my peers, I think I have one, two, maybe three peers that I work with that have received a patent as well. And it's not easy. Like it's not easy because, like I said, they're looking for uniqueness, right? So you submit the patent, and sometimes you get shut down, like, what is this for? Blah, 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 because my first patent was shut down. It's like, I don't understand it. So you have to talk the patent developer through it and tell them this is this, that, and another. This is what this patent is about. It's like, oh, then they get that idea.
Mhm.
Um, so you have to be really specific when you do the patents. But yeah, I have a couple of coworkers that have gotten patents or process patents, but I think theirs were more in-house patents and not so much that it was a patent that could be purchased by another company. Yeah.
I see. So we're talking with Dr. Kimberly Withers about patents and trademarks. What resources or other information would you like to leave with us today?
Uh, let's see. That's a that's a good one.
Okay.
Uh, well, I would say with when it comes to patents and trademarks, make sure that, again, do not tell others your thoughts ever. Whatever you come up with, you keep it to yourself. You record it on your phone as to so that you don't forget about it. Because sometimes I'll have things come into my mind at night, late at night, and then I'm like, what was I thinking about? What was I thinking about that I want to, write up as a patent, and then I forgot it, right? Um, so I'm sure it'll come back to me one day,
Yeah.
but definitely, when you think about these things, write it down as to your thought process, or record it on your little recorder on your phone, that you just make a note to yourself, right? Um, and yeah, and so just go through the chains that you need to. And I'm not sure how the academia process goes for patents and patent development. But yeah, mine is a different because I work in the corporate world,
Mhm.
and I'm an adjunct professor. So all of my patents will go to my full-time employer. Yeah, so.
So you make a good point about patents are different in different industries and the processes and pathways. And so I'd like to share with our audience about the show Make 48 that's on PBS. And that is it has an intellectual property attorney, and you compete while you're on the show. And the intellectual property attorney is Andrea Evans. And so she does a great job. And so I'd like to refer our audience there too. So Dr. Kimberly Withers, it's been such a pleasure to have you with us, and we hope that you come back again. And we're looking forward to hearing about your next patent once you get the patent number. And
Yes.
thank you for being such an inspiration.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. McAfee.